everybody. Welcome back to Everyone is Addicted. Today's guest is Maria, and she has come on to graciously share her story and her knowledge with addiction. So I will let her take it away.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much for having me, Jasmine. I really appreciate having this opportunity. And yeah, I feel like this topic is very important to address, because we all have a certain mindset of what is addiction when there's a lot of different ways. There's a lot of different avenues of what really can be addicting.
There's a lot of different addictions as well. Like,
Hmm.
not everybody always thinks, oh, it's just drugs and alcohol, but it can be a lot of different things, even from my life experience, right? Like, my husband is a gambling addiction. People don't talk about that much either, right? Or I
Hmm.
could go on, but yeah, there's so many different addictions that just aren't really necessarily talked about compared to just drugs and alcohol, which is what everybody goes right to, you know?
Correct. Yeah. So I am a pediatric sleep consultant and a motherhood life coach. And the addiction that I would like to address is the fact that we are addicted to feeling exhausted and feeling motherhood, like mother guilt, like mom guilt overall, right?
I'm horrible for that. I feel mom guilt at least once a day.
Hmm. And what's interesting is that people don't would never guess that having a certain feeling, especially kind of like, I guess, quote unquote negative, right? And I put it in quotes because at the end of the day, no feeling should be a negative one because it's real and it's part of us being humans. But we would never guess that that is addicting, right? And so the thing is,
Hmm.
like, it's a program that you have put in your brain that becomes a physical experience. So even the sense of guilt, you can be addicted to that type of feeling, right? We put ourselves in certain
I
situations,
can see
certain.
it. You're like, my mind's going right now.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild. And the same thing with exhaustion, right? And social media does not help at all, right? It actually feeds into that type of addiction, right? And because everybody tells you, especially as a mom, you're supposed to feel tired. You're supposed to feel guilty because,
All
like,
those
I mean,
quotes.
especially as a new mom, you go to the supermarket and you leave the baby to the grandma or whomever it is, and you're feeling guilty just because you went out the door without the baby.
Hmm.
And that becomes a chain reaction, right?
Well, for me, it's even if I'm trying to text somebody and my daughter's trying to talk to me and I keep texting, afterwards, I feel guilty because I didn't actually listen to her story. I wasn't present, and then I feel super guilty. And this happens, this is what I mean by once a day at least, probably like six or seven, to be honest, because like I obviously kind of work through my phone, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm always messaging somebody, but I could put the phone down and finish the message after she's done talking, but for some reason I don't. And like you said, it's maybe it is. I feel like it is the addiction of possibly feeling guilty. I'm so used to it now
Mm-hmm.
that it's like I don't. I'm not conscious of it. That's what I mean. Like I'm not aware of what you're saying. Like, do you know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
I feel like maybe I truly am like I secretly like not necessarily like the guilt, but
Mm-hmm.
I it's just addicting to have constantly felt it for so long. I don't know. But I totally understand what you mean because with the what I mean with the phone, right? I do it all the
Mm-hmm.
time and I could just put it
Yeah.
down. Well, why don't I put
Mm-hmm.
it down?
Yeah. Yeah. That one tends to be very big, especially when it comes to parenthood overall. Because at the end of the day, like, the love language of kids, is time, right? And it's time with you as a parent. It's like they honestly don't really care about anybody else except the adult that they truly want to be with, right? And so, it goes with like the the need, like, as mothers and as women especially, we like to feel needed. We like to feel productive. We like to feel um, responsible. We like to feel that you are the one that's bringing in something, right? And so, for example, like, I have also fallen into what you're saying, that, we tend to have remote jobs, meaning that we have, we use the phone all the time to respond and whatever. And what I have tried, and I'm slowly doing a transition, because since it has turned into an addiction that I didn't notice, right? Was that, oh, but I can do this last post. Oh, but I can, like, just last DM, last email, last this, last that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you turn around and your kids are watching, they're waiting for you. They talk to you. So I'm like, the way that at least I am trying to reprogram my brain, right, is what is your priorities, right? What is your priorities at the time? So,
Mm-hmm.
if it's if it's, it's a potential client and they're like, okay, this is the time that this is the only time that I have, is like, okay, talk to your little one. The little ones, kids understand more than what we expect them to understand, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot more than what we expect them to understand.
Oh, I
And
know. They say things to the grandparents, and you're like, wow, I didn't realize you picked up on that. Or they'll
yeah.
even say it to you, and you're like, I didn't
Hmm.
think you caught that.
Yeah, they understand a lot more than what we give them credit for. They're very, very smart. Like kids just learn, and they
Mm-hmm.
learn by watching, right? And so, what are things, I started thinking about, okay, what are things that I want my girls to take? And I am very aware of the fact that they're constantly watching. Most kids tend to look at you a matter of a minute, at least 5 times. At
I didn't
least.
even know that.
Start,
Wow.
yeah, start looking at how many times your daughter's going to be looking at you.
I'm going to be
Just, if you
doing that
want,
all
time
night.
it and start looking and start looking. And you're going to start realizing how many times she's actually paying attention to you and what you're doing, right? And so, you know, best way to be able to, help with this type of addiction of feeling, certain feelings, is putting boundaries. And that doesn't mean only at the outside world, but also with yourself, right?
Hmm.
I tend to purposely put my phone on silent, right? Take off my watch, and I leave my phone somewhere else,
Yeah.
right? And phones have, like, now this really cool thing that you could put, like, on focus mode, right? That only, I guess, the important, like, your favorites can call
Yeah.
you. Hmm.
Like you're
So
like
that's
your
what I have.
parents or something in case of an
Yeah,
emergency kind of thing. Yeah.
exactly. So if you have that, that will help out. But that sense of guilt is a huge one, especially for us moms. It's hard to step out of it. I saw it with my 97-year-old grandma, that she had Alzheimer's, and she will still feel guilty about things that happened in my mother's childhood, even though she
Hmm.
didn't realize that my mom was already a grown woman. So I'm like,
Well,
okay, so
some
clearly
certain
mom
things
guilt doesn't really.
stay. It's certain things stay with you, especially like the child might not even remember it, but you do it. Like when you
Hmm.
make a mistake or something when they're really little or something, and you regret it, and or you get too mad, or you know what I mean, and they're so young and they don't remember it, but you do, and it sticks with you, and it kind of haunts you, and it makes that guilt even worse, and it just builds it
Hmm.
up whenever you do something small because of that guilt from the past. It makes you even more guilty, I find, anyways.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a domino effect. And so, most people tend to want to work on the physical aspect of things, like of, the guilt, like, of, drugs, alcohol, even gambling, or the things that can be visualized, but the internal work tends to be one of the hardest ones to do, right? And the first thing is, like, admit to yourself that, and it's hard because it's even hard to even identify that you are addicted to that feeling, because you're like, oh, but I feel
Hmm.
horrible about this. Yet we still do actions that put
All
us
the
back
time.
into that feeling, because your body just, and it's crazy because you feel it physically, even though it's a mental
Hmm.
thing, your body gets uncomfortable. And then it makes
Hmm.
you start having these thoughts. And then it's just a train, right?
Like
And the
my
same thing
leg's
with
shaking right now. Like I'm shaking my leg right now because I'm thinking about it. Yeah.
yeah,
It is a
yeah,
full body effect.
it's a full body effect. And the same thing with exhaustion. So, social media will tell you, or people around you will tell, oh, but motherhood is supposed to be exhausting. We're all supposed to be sleep deprived. No, that it's not true. And a lot of us um, tend to be addicted to this feeling of exhaustion because we feel like we have accomplished things, right? Oh, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
tired because I did this. Oh, I'm tired because of this, because I, whatever. We always give ourselves the reason and the excuse of like why you're tired, but that's because you're liking that feeling. And then later on, it's like, oh my God, I'm so tired. Oh my God, I'm so tired. So it's kind of like,
Yeah.
what are you doing that's making you constantly want to feel that? Like, why do you feel so exhausted? Because you like that feeling that
Well, I had that
that you have.
experience last night. I was putting on my makeup to go to to a Celebrate Recovery meeting. And my daughter, because I wasn't in the living room, said, "Oh, is mommy laying down?" Because so I will go like when dad gets home from work after supper, sometimes I'll go like lay down for an hour or something, right? And
Mm-hmm,
that hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, she thinks that like take all these naps, and I know deep down I've always been somebody who really liked sleep, right? I just
mm-hmm,
enjoy it, I guess you could say. Like almost like a
mm-hmm,
hobby, in a weird way. I enjoy sleeping. So I do definitely have that what you like that addiction like you said where I almost use it as an excuse to go lay down for an hour because I enjoy that, not because I'm
mm-hmm,
actually exhausted. It's just because I
mm-hmm.
enjoy it and my kids notice it. And I had no idea that they noticed
That
it
she
as
noticed it.
much as they
Yeah.
did. Oh,
But
yeah. The fact you
so
said
here's
it,
the
I was
point.
just like,
So here's the thing, right? I I have ADHD, right? So my brain goes a million miles per hour every day. I end up being exhausted. My girls sleep 12 hours a day, like 12 hours a night, right? Straight, no issues. One of them is 1 year old, the other one is a 4 year old. And usually, unless we have a sleep progression, they tend to sleep all night, right?
mm-hmm,
So yeah, and I go to sleep roughly around 10 o'clock. So there's in theory, right, in the outside world, I shouldn't be exhausted. But my brain continues, right? Da, 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 and just feeling exhausted. But then I'm like, okay, instead of like, hey, maybe I should slow down and take time for myself to, for example, like you take a nap, right? I feel like that's okay. And the fact that she sees that you are actually taking time for yourself to take that break, I feel like me personally, I feel like that's healthy. The fact that, but if you don't take that break and you're constantly in the go, 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 and just feeling super exhausted and not taking that break for yourself, that can be the dangerous part. Why? Because you start
yeah, I
feeling
can
so exhausted that you're not going to be present, right?
because I
Um,
come out of the nap and I've had my like hour to myself. I guess that's my way of having time to myself. And
mhm.
I'm in a much better mood. I'm like, especially when things become
Yeah,
overwhelming and then they kind of calm down, that's when I'll go do that. And then I come out of it, I've cleared my head and I'm not in an angry or, irritable mood because something happened or a toy broke or you know what I mean. And
yeah,
like, because my kids are 5 and 8, so my son breaks a lot of toys, which obviously angers me. And
hmm,
instead of like freaking out on them, especially if their father's home, I'll go and have that time to myself. I feel guilty about it because my daughter made it sound like, oh, mommy sleeps. But maybe I
yeah.
just took it that way because I'm love to feel guilty about things, right?
That's right
I
there,
do it
right
even
there.
with my
Yeah.
husband, right? I do it. I've done it
Hmm.
my whole life. I've always found a way to feel guilty about something.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I totally have that issue. And maybe that's why I took it that way and
Hmm.
negatively opposed to just her. And
Taking
I
it.
said that to my husband. He's like, she just asked because you weren't in the room. And I'm like,
Hmm.
no, she thinks I sleep all the time.
Hmm.
And of
Yeah, you
course,
took it, and
yeah.
that's the addiction of feeling guilty that you have
Mm-hmm.
programmed yourself to have, right? And that alone, I feel like that's a very healthy way, in my opinion, because your daughter is seeing that you're taking time for yourself, right? And
Mm-hmm.
there was once that somebody asked me, like, "Oh, what do you even do for your own self?" I'm like, "I sleep," but that's like, "Oh, how's that? Self care." I'm resting. I am, even if I want to go ahead and I don't know, finally tackle the load of laundry, right? But instead, I decide to go
Mhm.
and, for example, take a nap because my body is just telling me you're exhausted. It's time, right? But instead of ignoring that, I decide to go. And that for me is my self-care because my brain
Mhm.
sometimes needs that reset like you. So if I don't do it, I know that I'm going to get cranky. I know that I'm going to be less patient. I start getting migraines, all of these other things that come into play. So instead, look at yourself in the mirror and be like, Jasmine, you're doing a good job because you're taking care of
Well, that
your
makes me feel a little
needs.
better, but like I said, I think it's like I took it the wrong way because even my
Hmm.
husband pointed that out. You just weren't in the room and you're usually in a certain area if you're upstairs. And if you're not in the kitchen
Hmm.
and you're not in the living room, you would be in down the hall in your room is where your house is set up. So that's why she would assume that, and that's exactly what he said. And I
Hmm.
just had to take it in a guilty way and feel guilty about it for like a half an hour and have like an emotional moment that didn't have to happen. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah,
And
and that's something that I like to work with my clients about because I work with moms overall, and it's not an easy feeling to navigate. It's not an easy feeling to get
no.
out of that addiction because the world tells you you're supposed to feel that way. The world tells you you're supposed to feel exhausted. The world tells you you're supposed to be
Mhm.
feeling guilty. And then you start comparing yourself. And that's another feeling that we tend to be addicted to be comparing, comparing, comparing,
Mhm.
comparing, comparing,
That's
comparing,
why I don't like
comparing.
social media because it creates envy,
Mm-hmm.
jealousy, and just like you said, like programming in a way. Like, because
Mm-hmm.
every meme you see that's a mom meme is always something that is negative in that way. And it's
Mm-hmm.
never something that's like uplifting or anything. It's always like, oh, I'm so tired, and there's, like, a stack of dishes or something like that, do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And then
And
it's like,
it's a
ha, ha,
quote.
ha. And you're like,
Yeah,
but what are we doing to make that better? What are we doing to encourage moms
mhm,
to take, self-care of themselves? And part of self-care is resting. A lot of people
it's
take rest for granted and we don't understand the importance of it. And just by you resting, you start helping your brain to reprogram itself and to help, heal itself from any type of
mhm,
addiction that you may have. Because if you're not resting and you're just going at it, whatever the addiction is, and you're going, 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 do you think your body is actually resting?
yeah,
Most likely not, right? Because it's just
nope.
going at it and it's just on automatic on the go, go, go. And so I feel that, and it's proven that we tend to be addicted to feelings because, like
Mhm.
if it's making you feel nice, you're gonna wanna continue doing it, right? And
Well,
if
if
it's
you look
making you
at
feel
rich
important.
people,
Mhm,
that's where I would say if you look at people that have an excessive amount of money,
mhm,
yeah. Like, definitely addicted to things like that. I mean, I'm not saying that, like, you have to be affluent to be like that, but it definitely is something, and I don't think anybody talks about it. I don't even, like, think I've ever really had a counselor kind of say anything like that to me either, do you know what I mean? They
mhm,
usually and I mean, like, I've been going to counseling since I was 17 years old, and not for addiction because I didn't have addiction at that time. It was for, like, self-esteem and things like that. I never heard any of that kind of stuff, like things about guilt, things about how important it is to reset, rest, that kind of stuff. Nothing like that.
mhm.
And
No, because
it needs to be talked about because it
it does.
actually helps. Like,
It
I
helps.
will
Mhm,
say it really helps me if because I have a problem when things become extremely overwhelming, like chaotic with the children and like everything going on around with the children and me trying to do things and just you know what I mean with life going on
mhm,
and like 85 things happening at once, right? I
mhm,
get extremely overwhelmed, and those are the times I feel like I need to take a nap because then I
mhm,
can reset my brain. Otherwise,
mhm.
I am going to be a very difficult person to deal with because
Yeah,
my
yeah,
brain is on overload.
yeah. And
Mm,
that happens to a lot of us. And, people shame you for feeling that. People like
mhm.
shame, the fact that at least you're openly admitting that if you don't have that time to yourself, you're going to be somebody that you yourself don't want to be around with, and that happens to a
Mhm.
lot of us. I get annoyed of my own self. Like I start hearing myself and I'm like, oh, like if I can walk away from my own self, I would right now. And my husband used to like giggle about it when we were dating, because I'm like, if I could walk away from myself, I would, you know? And
Mhm.
instead, now it's kind of like, you start reprogramming your brain of like, no, you're a great mom. You are, you need to find people that also will help like hype you up, like my sister, sometimes I tell my sister, I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I did nothing today. And she was like, did you wake up this morning? Yeah. Did you make breakfast for your girls? Yeah. Good for you. You're doing a great job. Like that type of
Mhm.
person that will tell you like, hey, you got up this morning. You made, food for yourself or food for somebody else. You took care of your kids. If you finally did the dishes, oh my God, I know that there's sometimes that task can be completely easy and normal for other people, but for you, it might be something difficult. For somebody like me that has ADHD, normal task for me is like an actual task of like getting my head around it and actually completing it,
I'm
right?
yeah, I am the exact same way, and that's what makes it harder for me to get certain things done because
Mm-hmm.
for me it's very daunting because it's just instead of starting off small like regular people do, I just think that I have to tackle the whole
The
thing
whole
all
house.
at
Mhm.
once, and it just yeah.
Yeah, and then it
It's
gets
because
overwhelming. And then like I don't like when I got diagnosed with ADHD was actually when I was in my like when I just turned 30. And that was when I was already having like a mental breakdown. And
mhm.
then that's when doctors were like, maybe you have ADHD. And so most women don't tend to get diagnosed that they have ADHD until like 30 or after their first kid, or because we usually tend to
Yeah,
have a biggest
mine was after
breakdown.
my first kid, and I had my dad passed away, I had a mental breakdown and stuff, and I think I was 29, so around the same age as you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was like it took that long for them to tell me that. My mom said it up and down since I was a child, but doctors wouldn't listen to her, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so she would just tell me that I had it, but like they couldn't do anything about it until a doctor finally said, "Yeah, because I had a mental breakdown because my dad passed away, right?" And I
Mm-hmm.
just once I become extremely overwhelmed with like the tasks of having to take care of everything after he passed away, it's
Mm-hmm.
actually quite a bit to take on. And I had a newborn baby, so it was
Yeah.
like whoa, too much, like I had like I crashed and burned, right? So
Mm-hmm.
eventually I ended up seeing a therapist through my doctor who eventually, well, after the first couple sessions said, yeah, you have ADHD, and then
Mm-hmm.
we started working from there
Which,
and things got
mm-hmm.
better, right?
Yeah, and that's wild, right? And it's because everybody thinks that ADHD you have to be hyperactive, and that's usually the diagnosis for boys, but girls tend to be a
Mhm.
bit different, right? And we tend to be known as lazy or um is selfish even sometimes, or like we don't care, right?
Mhm.
And there's sometimes that your day can go by and you don't even know where that went, right? So and it happens and it's part of it. And as you start, I know that ADHD can be a person addicting personality, right? And for me it could be the feeling of feeling like I'm actually, what's it called, I like feeling that I'm doing something for for somebody else, right? And that
Mhm.
tends to be like, oh, I have to do this for somebody else. I have to do this for somebody else. I have to do this for somebody else, and then I forget about myself, right? And
Mhm.
that's another addicting feeling because you feel like you are actually being useful when in the reality you need to be like, what did you do for yourself? And
And
it's
that's where my guilt comes in because I'm doing stuff for other people while I'm texting them on my phone because I have a separate business where I read tarot cards, right? So I
mm-hmm,
will have people texting me, and instead I'm talking to them about their problems and what they want because they want me to read their cards. My daughter's trying to tell me about her day. Now, who's more important? And even to me, because I would rather hear her story and have
mm-hmm,
that bond with her,
Mm-hmm.
opposed to listening to somebody complain that their boyfriend and them got in a fight or something. Do you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Where
Yeah.
it's not a huge importance over what's actually going on and being present. And then I get that
Mm-hmm.
mom guilt, and it's almost like a cycle. It does it all the time,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And I really
Yeah.
need to learn to just, once my kids get home from school, at least for the first couple hours, put that ringer on. That's just my parents and my husband.
Mm-hmm.
Put it in the drawer and just pay attention to
Mm-hmm.
them. And
Mm-hmm.
because like you said, they look at you how many times? Like 5 times in
Almost five
5.
times in a minute. It's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And here's the thing. The kids are constantly, because so I actually have been working with families for over 15 years, and I have a master's in education, and I've worked with preteens, I've worked with teenagers, and I'm working with, moms with babies, toddlers, and so on and so forth, right? And so I've been blessed to be able to work with so many families and to actually see how it impacts kids and as they grow up, right? And so, we're doing all of this, but later on, we can't complain about our teenagers not wanting to talk to us. Why are you on your
That's what
phone?
I
Get off
worry
your
about.
phone.
I'm
Hello, I'm
so
talking to you. Like we can't do that because guess what? That is what they're watching you do, right? And best way to do is put those boundaries up, for your clients. Be like, from this time to this time, I'm free to talk to you. From this time to this time, I'm free to talk to you, but this time and this time, it's closed.
hmm I try to. They have their own addiction to the tarot reading, so that's
Mm-hmm.
where it gets sticky, right? So I have to set
Yeah.
barriers with them in that regard. They just don't follow them, and then I'm
Mm-hmm.
like I said, I don't. I like think of other people over myself, so I don't follow the barrier I set, and then
Mm-hmm.
I and I've thought this too. My daughter's not going to talk to me when she's older because I've been ignoring
Mm-hmm.
her, texting on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
I've thought this because
Mm-hmm.
I know that she is paying attention to the fact that I am not fully listening, because she'll almost ask me to repeat what she said. And if I can't, she looks
Oh, she's
pretty
bright.
upset. And
She's
I'm
bright.
like,
She's very smart.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
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 And she will ask me to repeat it. And if I can't, and I'll be like, well, sorry, mommy. And I'll say, sorry, mommy's text or messaging somebody. Like, why should I say that to her? That's not fair, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I need to stop being addicted to that guilty feeling of, you
Mm-hmm.
know, because I could easily put it away, but I don't, because
Mm-hmm.
I am
Yeah.
addicted to that guilt all the time. But it's really
You're
not
you're
going to lead to good results.
you're addicted to being able to please your clients, right? Because you want
hmm
to be you want to make sure that your business is still running, right? And here's the difference between a 9 to 5 job to being an entrepreneur, right? We feel like we have to be doing this. We have to make sure that we're answering to our clients. We have to be doing this. We have to be doing that. But here's the thing. If we don't put those boundaries, if we don't put those time limits, how far are you going to go? Because at the end of the day,
hmm
if you're overworking yourself, and I have seen this in a lot of women, that they even end up with terminal illnesses because they don't put these boundaries. Because we are, society overall has told you that you have to be, present. You have to be here. You have to do this. You have to do that. You have so much responsibility and so much pressure everywhere from every single angle, that in reality it's a teamwork, right? You're blessed that your husband is, lets you and be like, here, go have that hour or whatever, but there's some people
I
that
know
don't,
my
and it's because
sister-in-law gets so mad that he does that because her husband does it all the time. I've
yeah,
definitely, yeah, been told I'm
yeah,
blessed that he allows me to do
yeah,
that.
and it's not even like, it's the fact that he respects the fact that he knows that it makes a huge difference in you, and that's something great, right? And at the end of the day, we all have our faults, we all have our personalities, we all have, the twerks and whatever, but at the end of the day, like, you know if and you're right now telling me like your daughter right now is like very important, right? You would prefer to listen to that story. Okay, you know what? Listen, these are my business hours, and just treat it like it's an actual your own, boutique. These are my hours.
Mhm.
These hours are for my kids, and I need, like, I would like for you to understand that this is important. And if they don't respect that. You know, like you want to have people that around you that respects your boundaries, right? Because this is something huge. And this is where it starts feeding that addiction constantly, constantly, constantly. And it's like, no, wait a second, hold on. No, this is more important. Let me put this down. Right now it's you. Because you're also teaching your daughter that whatever's going on your phone is more important, right?
I know,
That
and I
addiction.
feel it.
Yeah.
Like,
That
I can
addiction of the
feel it.
phone is
I
just
can I can feel it because she makes me repeat the stories back, which then I
mhm.
obviously it makes my brain think of what I consciously of what I'm doing. And then but then I still do it again. It's like that cycle.
Yeah,
But like
because
you
it's that
said,
addiction of wanting to have that, like, you know, at least, and that's something that I've been like that I'm trying to start being conscious about of why am I doing this? Why am I
mhm,
replying now? Why am I checking the emails now? The emails can wait, the person can wait, my child cannot,
yeah,
because
I
at the end of the
know.
day, they'll never be as
Hmm.
young as they are today.
Nope.
You can never get that time back, right? And so it's like, okay, what are my so that's when you had to like slow down your brain and take back a step, right? And this is how I like to teach my clients on how to deal with this type of, you know, feeling, this type of addiction of like wanting to continue feeling productive and feeling like like you're important and feeling like you know, you're doing things and feeling guilty and feeling all of these things. And it's like, slow down, take a breath,
Hmm.
slow down. What is your priority? What are your goals? What are your boundaries? Right? And so it sounds easy, but it's very hard to do, and it's hard to like maintain it and be consistent about it, because it's been so many years that you have already um programmed your brain, right, to have to be okay with
Hmm.
this feeling and to like this feeling, whether you think you don't like it, like whatever, like feeling, you know, the feeling of like feeling sad. You put yourself in a situation and then you're feeling sad and then
Hmm.
you're like, oh man, I wish that would have never happened. Yet you're the one that put yourself into that spot. Why? Because your body, that's what you taught your body to feel. And once you
Hmm.
get out of that, it's like it loses control. You're going on, I guess, on the withdrawal of that circumstances and that withdrawal of that feeling of like, this doesn't feel right. Like those alarms going off in your brain, kind of like, this is not okay. This is not okay. And it's like, it's totally okay for you to feel joy. It's okay to feel rested. It's okay for you to feel like you're a good mom. You know, it's okay to feel like, you know what, oh man, I'm sorry. Like you're right. The the phone is not important. Put away and let her see it. It's okay for her to see, you know what, you're so right. You're more important. And say that to her. You are more important, and you put it away in front of her.
Hmm.
Even if you do fall back into it, let her know that, oh man, mommy screwed up. I'm so sorry. You're right. Putting it away. I'm all yours. And that right there makes such a huge difference in the relationship that you have with your daughter and with your son and with your husband. And you're also putting boundaries in those clients that don't understand that you have a certain boundary, right? And then they start respecting
Yeah.
their boundary and understanding that, oh man, okay, I can only talk to Jasmine from this time to this time. Okay. So they'll be like, okay, this is the time I can text her. Okay, let's do it. Right?
Hmm.
Like, oh,
Instead
this
of
is the
trying
time
to
that she
cross
doesn't
the boundary
answer.
and don't answer them, and then they'll
Mm-hmm.
stop doing it but because like I give in, they know that I'll give in, so they do it anyways.
Mm-hmm.
But if I
Mm-hmm.
stop and actually
Mm-hmm.
stick to like what I'm setting my boundaries as, then
Mm-hmm.
they won't. Because even last night I'll say like I had somebody contact me and I had to be like, I'm at an AA meeting, like I have a life outside of every
Yeah.
beck and call of yours. I am
Mm-hmm.
sorry. And you ask me the same question every 25 minutes, like, leave me alone. Like,
So
but
they're
then I
addicted.
still do
So
it.
they're addicted to what you offer. You know, like they're addicted to that.
Hmm.
They're addicted to texting to you constantly. And by you responding, you're also being part of their you're feeding into their
Hmm.
addiction,
And
right?
I'm not sticking to my barriers that I should be setting so that I don't
Correct.
have the issue with my daughter where I feel guilty all the time,
Mm-hmm.
which is an addiction in itself that I need to
Mm-hmm.
break. And I also need to break the pattern of not like being fully present and all of it. Instead of pleasing other people, I should be paying attention to her. So to
And
break all
yourself.
of
Hmm.
those.
Yeah, because remember, okay, so
I know it's not
here
easy, but it's
it's
definitely
not.
worth it.
It's definitely worth it. And the beauty of it is that you have the tools to be able to be mindful about it. You have the tools to be able to fix it because at the end of the day, she's 5. You still have a good amount of years to be able to correct whatever she has been. Because see, the thing is, like with kids, it's not much like they might not remember the action or what happened in that moment, but they'll remember how they like how they feel or how you made them feel,
Hmm. And if they're
right?
looking at you like that much, they're gonna remember
Mm-hmm.
how you. I still remember my mom sitting there filing her nails all the time when I was little because that's something that she did a lot. And like you said, we look at our parents so much, and I think about it now, and I'm like, I remember, I she does it, she still does it, but she always has sat there and just sat there and filed her nails away like crazy all the time, and it's just like from looking at her all the time is how I remember. That's why I remember that, right? Otherwise,
Mm-hmm.
why would that stick in my head so hard, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's kind of like having kids, how you have two choices, whether continue having the habits that your parents probably had, probably different scenarios, but be the same person as your parents were, or continue or being a better parent, because we have the tools to continue improving, right? We have the tools to be able to have our kids have a better childhood, to have because I don't know about you, but our parents couldn't talk about their feelings.
No,
If I were to cry, automatically that was a negative thing. And like they'll tell me, like, especially my mom, like, why are you crying? Stop crying, you
I
know?
said it to my own mom, even though she said that, like, she used to say it to me when I was little. Well, she was crying. I don't exactly remember. She was just like upset that day, and I was also upset that day. And I said to her, I'm like, Mom, why are you crying? There's no reason to be crying about this. This is not an issue you need to cry over. Like, I said it to my own mother, and that's something that she used to say to me all the time.
All
So
the time. And
mirroring it.
yeah, exactly. So, and with my daughters, even though there's a lot of times that I want to say that because yes,
I say it to my
but
son a lot, and I shouldn't. I know I shouldn't, but he cries so much that it's hard not to say it to him. But it's like you kind of should because
take
he's just
tell them
expressing
to breathe.
himself.
The breathing exercises, the conscious breathing. And that's what I teach my daughter, because my first likes to be very, like, she tends to be very emotional. And it's hard to kind of reprogram your brain to deal with that, because your parents never taught you how to do that. They don't know how to do that, and so now you're reprogramming your brain while also helping somebody to learn how to do these coping, right? So it's like it's a whole thing. And I see my daughter starts crying, and I'm like, in my brain, I'm like, stop crying, stop crying. So I'm like, I take the breather, right? And I tell her, okay, breathe. And so I do the candles, right? Breathe, 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 right? Or like, let's count to 5. Or what are you smelling? And she's like, what? Yeah, what are you smelling? Oh, this. And then she forgets about whatever,
Hmm.
and then she starts calming down.
I
Okay, now
like
use
that
your
one because it
words.
would work for my son. The breathing exercises
Mm-hmm,
doesn't work for him. He just doesn't want to follow along with that. So the distracting him with something else would be
mm-hmm,
super helpful. That's a really good one. That's
mm-hmm.
going in my
Or like,
toolbox.
those moms that are listening that have toddlers, like they start throwing a tantrum, right? And the toddler can already talk and be like, the sky's purple. Mom, what are you talking about? The sky's blue. They already forgot why they were having the tantrum.
Hmm.
You're helping them cope with what they're feeling, right? And so there's a lot of different like tools and techniques that I like to teach my mom, so that way they don't start losing themselves. And this um because motherhood is beautiful and it's great and everything, but there's a lot of us that don't even know what in the world actually came with motherhood until you're in it,
Hmm.
right? And that part of frustration and stress and the overwhelming and overstimulating, especially if you have ADHD like you and I bought myself these earplugs called Loop, and they don't cancel the sound. You can still hear them, but it minimizes the volume
Mm-hmm.
and it helps you relax before you actually lose your shit, you know?
And like the volume is what really gets to me, so that would
Hmm.
be definitely something I'm going to invest in doing.
Yeah,
But do
definitely. I
you
would
have any
recommend it.
last things and tips for us before I let you go? Because I gotta go get my kids from school, actually.
No, no, no problem. But thank you so much for having me. And for anybody who's listening, be kind to yourself. Find something that you can find yourself as a self-love, right? And just remember that there's support that can help you deal with it, with any type of addiction. And you just have to find the right person that can give you the right tools for whatever it is that you are going to. And if you're a mom, it is okay for you to rest. Take it, take advantage of it, because at the end of the day, rest is something that makes you human, and that's what makes you not lose your patience. And yeah.
What before you go, what is the name of your business and how can people find you?
So the name of the business is Mindful Mother, and you can find me on Instagram, mindful mother underscore sleep.
Alrighty, I'm also going to post that in the show notes for everybody, just in case they want to get in contact with you for more information or, become a client or anything like that. Because, like you said, motherhood, we do sometimes need to ask for help, even if we don't want,
Mhm.
even if we're afraid to, is more of the better word. So, if anybody wants to get in contact with her, I will put them in the show notes. And thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it so much. Sorry, I have to cut you short. I just
Oh no,
hit
you're
the.
fine. Don't worry about it.
I'm just in the time. I'm like, I have to go get them from the bus. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Go get your little ones. Thank you so much for having me, and it was a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you for teaching me so much and almost like opening my mind to things that like I did know but didn't really want to admit to
Hmm.
myself. So it was definitely very helpful. At least from my perspective anyway. So thank you so much.
Well, if you ever need anything, I'm always here. So I'll be more than happy to help at any moment, because there's sometimes that we always need somebody else to check keep us in check, if that makes any
Hmm.
sense, right? So it's gonna like, no, you're not delusional, no, you're not going crazy type of thing. Is like, you're doing a great job. Just don't forget to do this, or don't forget to keep those boundaries.
Hmm.
All right. I hope you have a beautiful day. And thanks again for
You
having
too.
me.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.